Everyone, good morning. Welcome to the Teach Better Today morning show, where the Teach Better team gets to join you live every single morning, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern. We are currently streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn, and also, of course, as a part of our Teach Better Talk podcast. Don't forget, if you are still challenging yourself to find new podcasts to listen to be a strong learner in this education space, you can always head over to our Teach Better podcast network. That is always a place that seems to be adding more and more educational podcasters. And we always love to support all of you with as much free content as possible. There are also new blogs that just published today over on teachbetter.com/blog. And of course, as many of you are aware, we are constantly trying to share out information. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to make sure that you don't miss out on any of the good stuff. My name is Ray Hewert, and we are headed into a wonderful conversation this morning. So go fill up your coffee and stick with us. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for sticking with your routine every single morning of being a part of the Teach Better Today morning show. We have a beautiful guest with us today, and I'm excited for all of you to add her to your professional learning network. Don't forget that the more people we can surround ourselves with, the better learners we can be. And today will definitely be a creative episode. Good morning. How are you doing? How are you feeling so far?
Me?
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm great. Good. It's not 7 o'clock in the morning for me now, so I'm great.
Win. Do you mind introducing yourself to our community and telling us a little about your role in education?
Okay, sure. My name is Faggy Cobry. I'm a mom of 6 and all married now, so I'm an old lady. I got a lot of grandchildren. And I am an early childhood educator. I went to a place called Bank Street College of Education way back in the 80s. And I'm sure many of you who are in education have heard of Bank Street. It's in New York City, in Manhattan, not far from Columbia University, actually. And I did that for a number of years. I was an early childhood educator. I was a director at one point. I particularly loved the art part of art, creative art in the early childhood classroom. And when I was raising my kids and I wasn't working, I was still doing stuff. And I created a program, an info product called Preschool Art Seminar in a Box. And I was selling it, and there was a woman that bought it not far from where I live in New York, and she really liked it. And she asked if I do workshops. So I said, sure. And I started doing professional workshops on teaching teachers on how to do art, but not just how to do art, really specifically how to get people away from the traditional copycat cookie cutter arts that is so prevalent all over the place. There are definitely people that do creative art, but cookie cutter copycat crafts is something that is really very detrimental to kids. And I've been on a mission. I've been on a mission to help people change and go on to more creative art. Copycat, as I call it, copycat cookie cutter crafts. What it does is it just takes away people's ability to solve problems and to think for themselves, their self-esteem. My whole spiel, like I have this program called Beyond Copycat Crafts, which I usually have, through educators. I was doing it in person, and now I have it online. And I try to explain to people, what is it about the copycat crafts that is so bad? So number one, would you like me to give you some explanations, some details? Okay, so what happens is we really have to really get kids where they are developmentally, right? We don't expect kids to walk before they crawl or talk before they babble, right? Because that's the way that works out developmentally. So in art and in drawing and things like that, there are developmental stages as well. But people don't seem to care about that, because as soon as a kid could say anything or you talk to them, it's like, like they're an adult, people right away think that they can do what adults do. So they don't realize that they have to allow the child to develop and proceed at their own developmental level. So they immediately try to get them to do things that are very adult-like, because they don't like the messes that are being made by 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and sometimes even 4-year-olds. So what they do is they come up with these really cute ideas, and they show it to the kids and say, this is what we're going to make. So what this is doing is a number of things. Number one, it is telling the child that you're no good. What you are capable at that stage is no good, and I need you to do things according to my stage. That's number one. It doesn't make a kid feel very good. I remember many years ago when I was first getting my master's, and I was, talking about this to whoever would listen. I was speaking to a teenage cousin of mine. I was explaining to her the whole thing about what happens, and she said, wow, I can't believe that, because I clearly remember being in kindergarten and my teacher holding up a project and saying, this is what we're going to make today, and feeling, oh, mine will never look like that. So what happens is we're telling the kids, you're no good. They're not feeling good about themselves, and they're losing any kind of problem solving skills that they can get out of developmentally appropriate art. What people don't realize is that when you give an artwork or a project that's developmentally appropriate, and the kids are thinking of how to do it, you're giving them a lot of skills. Just a simple collage. A simple collage. Let's say you give kids a bunch of circles. You're going to give it to a few different ages. So the really young ages, what are they learning? They're learning about what the materials do. So I have a very interesting story how when my own oldest was in a 3-year-old program. It was a really good program, and I was there for orientation, and different kids were coming in and sitting down at the tables and, doing different projects, doing collage. And I was watching the teacher there. She went over to one kid who had gone over to this table where there was paste. And in those days, it was paste, not glue, really thick paste. And she took one piece of paper and she pasted it down on the paper, and she was done. And she was not even 3 yet. And the teacher walked over and sat down next to her and picked up the paper and turned it over and said, look, it sticks. And it was like, wow, she really understood what the kid was up to at that point. At that point, that kid was learning that paste or glue sticks paper to other paper and to other things. So children at very young ages are just learning materials and what happens. But we rob them of that. We take these crafts and we make the kids do it, and we're just, you have an entire generation of people who are, me, I can't draw. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, right? I'm sure everybody's heard that. I'm sure many of you are listening to it feel the same way, because you think that people that do art, that art is only for artists. And it's not true. Art is huge, what it could do for you. Aside from the relaxation and the pleasure it gives people, it is truly something that literally enhances learning. It enhances, aside from the, fine motor skills, it just, so many things are being learned by doing art. And when people are doing the copycat cookie cutter crafts, you're taking such an important medium, such an important skill and thing, whatever it is, away from the kids. So that's basically what I'm up to.
I love it. Figgy, I'm glad that you were able to join the show this morning to talk about how we can be better as educators incorporating art. I know we have a number of different general educators listening, leaders listening, and specifically art teachers. This is going to be a really wonderful conversation of how we can all get a little more creative as we head into the classroom. We'll be right back as we head into our team talk. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us. We have Faggy with us as we dive into how art can be brought into the classroom or how art teachers can enhance their craft. And this is obviously a passion of hers that she loves to share. It was interesting prior to us clicking that big red button, we were discussing about how Faggy connected with the Teach Better team thanks to, shout out, Jeff Gargis, who was on the Pat Flynn podcast talking education, and so excited to be bringing in educators that may not have been connected to the Teach Better team until they have kind of explored different elements that brought that dot connection together. So Faggy, I'm so excited to be able to share with our group some ideas on how we can support them taking art up a notch with the work that you're doing. Any suggestions that come to mind right off the bat that you would love to challenge our teachers with?
So the truth of the matter is, it really depends on what age. Like my program, it's really for teaching early childhood teachers. But I myself, I am an elementary school art teacher. So I do a program called TAB, which is Teaching for Artistic Behavior. It's a choice-based program where the kids get to, drawing and collage and construction and fiber arts, all kinds of stuff going on at the same time. So it really depends on, like, if the teachers, I'm not sure exactly who would be using this information, because there's very different information for early childhood and there is for elementary school. So like for early childhood, I would say to try to move away from the copycat crafts. If you're a copycat crafts, I actually have on my website, which is eduart4kids.com, I have a free report which is on ditching the copycat crafts. I have more explanations, some videos to help people get started. But if you're in the elementary school, so there's a lot of elementary school teachers who just don't have to do art because they have an art teacher. There are some schools that don't have art. It's unfortunately, I know of schools that don't have art, but the schools that do have art, usually it's a special art time. So I don't know what the teachers themselves can do. If you're an art teacher listening to this and you don't know about TAB, you should go check out. There's a Facebook group that I discovered this amazing method of art. It's called Teaching for Artistic Behavior. It is the most giving, generous. The teachers there, everybody is so generous. They give up their all their charts, because we have charts hanging up on how to do different things around the classroom, and people just give it. We feel like I've gotten an education, like I have a degree in TAB just from this Facebook group. It's an amazing thing. So if you're an art teacher and you want to learn more about TAB, go to this Facebook group. If you're a preschool teacher, try to get away from this copycat crafts. Try to understand that it's detrimental to kids. I know people sometimes get defensive and they feel like I'm putting them down if I'm saying that it's really so bad. But I did that also when I first started many years ago. I also started like that until I realized how much better it is to give kids art where they're thinking and they're solving problems and they're just enjoying it. You just look at the difference on how the kids are working. That's what got me so turned on to this. I would just like, I still get the greatest satisfaction watching the kids and what they come up with. So like you can, but there are ways to also give like a little structure to it. So for example, you can just throw down a bunch of shapes and tell the kids to make a collage. On the other hand, then you can put all kinds of, let's say it's winter now, right? On this side of the world, and you could give them black papers and all kinds of white materials, and maybe even circle templates, and say, why don't we make a snow collage, right? And then we could talk about, well, what kind of things would you put into a snow collage? Of course, everybody says a snowman. So you have kids that will be, you give them white oil pastel, some of them will be drawing with them, some of them will be painting with the white paint, some of them will just be collaging. I've done, just going back to what I said before about doing things that are developmentally appropriate. I have these pictures of this first grade class many years ago that I gave them these torn paper winter collages where I gave them a background and I told them they're only allowed to rip. Okay. It was another thing where they had to use their brains to do something that they're not used to. I didn't give anything prepared. I didn't give any scissors, and they had to make a winter collage. So I have like two starkly different ones. There was one kid who was extremely creative and doing well in school, and she was ripping these snowmen and the house and a scarf. Then there was another kid that was really having a problem in school. All she did was rip large papers and smack them down on top of it. I remember showing it to my director at the time, and she couldn't get over how it was showing like that the performance in school is mirrored in the art. And I remember when I was a preschool director years ago, and I would walk in the halls and they would have their artwork hung up, I was usually able to tell how the kids were doing by how they did their art. And when you don't allow them that, when they have to copy whatever you are doing, there's no individuality. You can't see anything about the child. Of course, you can see the kids that actually can't follow exactly what you wanted. But this was a way, and it is a way for us to see how kids are doing. And I don't necessarily believe in just like throwing kids in like anarchy. Sometimes they don't know what to do. I'll say, okay, I'll give them ideas. I'll 5 ideas. Well, you could do this or this or this or this or this, and then they can go and do what they want. So it's not a matter of just like throwing kids in, to the lions and letting them just do whatever without any kind of a structure. So it depends on the age. It depends how much structure you want to give. Kids will, determine how old they are, what their experiences have been before. But there's just a lot of ways to work with this. So just, really want to encourage, if you're a preschool teacher, check out eduart4 for kids.com. And if you're an elementary school art teacher, my blog actually has a lot of art. I mean, it was only lately that I started getting into this whole professional development online. My blog has many, many art activities that I did over the years. So even if you're an elementary school parent or teacher and you want some ideas, you can hop on over to the blog as well.
I love it. So many good resources here. Figgy, thank you so much for jumping on this morning to talk to our community. I hope you continue to stay connected to this Teach Better network full of very, very creative teachers, including a number of art teachers, and being able to celebrate all these good things. For everyone else, we hope you have an amazing day ahead, and make sure to go connect with Figgy. Bye, guys.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey, Teach Better community. Thank you so much for joining the Teach Better Today morning show every single weekday at 7 a.m. Eastern. We have so many resources for you outside of this live stream at teachbetter.com, including blogs, podcasts, and professional development that will bring our team to your school. Wherever you are listening from this morning, please make sure you are sharing and celebrating the incredible educators in this world. And hey, if you are listening over on a podcast to Teach Better Talk, we would love a 5-star review. The comments are always so entertaining. We'll see you tomorrow.